Did you just use ChatGPT gen you that fat ass one? Um,
Yeah. I put it into I think it was Grok. And I was just like, can you make me look fat? And it just like there were so many weird ones at first, and it took me a while to get to that one. But I was just like thinking of like why people, yeah, like a photo that is gonna be captivating. Because
yeah,
like you know how social media is. Like it's really hard to draw people in with that first, like if you're doing a carousel, like trying to have like really poppy like carousels to like have people like, oh, this is weird. Let's keep scrolling. So trying to make it eye catchy rather than just having a title. So
yeah.
that's where I was like, oh, I wonder if this. I don't know if this is gonna be offensive or if this is gonna be like catchy or what. But like, I've just been playing around with that kind of stuff. Same with like the content. Like I'm like, okay, like sometimes I feel like I'm too serious. So I'm like, okay, let's add some like funny things into it and see if it gets, if more people like that kind of stuff, or if they like it more like formal. Or so I've just been like playing around with it when it comes to the carousel.
Well, speaking of that photo, that fat ass photo, do you look like that now, or are you far from
Yeah, just
that?
the reverse went real bad. No, that's I am like I'm 180. I was 183 this morning. Like last week, I was averaging around like 182. So like still going fairly gradual. I think my plan is to kind of get up to 190 by the end of like December or like into January, and just kind of keep the gaining going and try to avoid cutting for until then. Or I'll probably gain to 190 and then hold that for like 2 to 3 months, and then kind of come up with a game plan on what I want to do for a competitive season, either like for like 2027 or 2028. I know Emma kind of wants to do the 2026, and I'm like, ugh. But we'll see. Like if I make some substantial, like some big changes or big improvements, then I might do that season. Just for fun, but I just don't see myself making enough progress to like make it worth it.
Mhm. Yeah, it's been what like since I think this is the sixth week or the seventh week now post my show, and
Yeah.
I've only put on about I think less than 10 pounds. I was like, what,
Nice.
63 kilos? That's like 138 pounds. And I weighed myself this morning. I was 66. So I put on 3 kilos. That's a little bit, yeah, just shy of 10 pounds.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's always been difficult for me to put on body weight, but at least, we're getting there. But I think you're right. I was actually talking to Tyler, honestly. And
Yeah.
then he did mention that, like, what did you want to do? I said, like, I want to go pro show and then go to Worlds and see what that looks like. And he's like, yeah, like, even though in my category, everybody in Worlds are superiorly competitive, was encouraging me to continue with the muscle development. And if you wanted to be a little bit more competitive, then yeah, just keep doing that. He sounded much better. I'm not nearly as close to where we should be, and I think he makes a good point. Tyler won his national championship for Masters Men's Physique at Worlds last year. So with a physique like that, I think it creates a really good benchmark on what the standard is. And I think we talked about this before. We have a lot of newer blood coming into the federation now. So
Yeah.
we've got all these genetic freaks who are just coming in, and I was like, you look at them and are you for real? They're natural. And
Yeah.
it's just yeah, we just want to step up the caliber.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can
No,
see why you wanted to take 2026 off and perhaps think about 27 or 28. I think that makes sense. I think I would do the same as well.
yeah. And I feel like a lot of even like top level bodybuilders too, like I've seen guys taking like 5, 6 years off just so that they can make substantial changes. Which like I feel like for me to make like crazy changes, like yeah, I'd probably need to be like that amount of time. I don't know mentally if I could handle taking like a full 5, like 6 years off of competing. Just because I know like when you're in the off season, like I just noticed like if you don't have that goal like too close in mind, sometimes that motivation can start to fade, and then it's just like all of a sudden like trainings like you find yourself like maybe skipping out of training sessions or like eating habits are kind of not the best, and like you're not quite hitting your protein goal. So I find sometimes like having things a bit more locked in, or like having a closer goal in mind is helpful. Like last like couple off seasons I've done, like I've really been trying to prioritize like staying on a trajectory, because I know for I think it was like anywhere before like 2019, all my off seasons were kind of just I was training hard, but like the nutrition was kind of like whatever. As long as I'm getting enough protein in, I'm just gonna go with that. And a lot of times, like I would gain up to a certain weight and just hold for a really long period of time, which I think still good. Like I still made some results that way, but I'm trying to be a lot better about it. Especially this year, just continue to ensure that I am gaining and going through like these gaining phases and making sure because like I mentioned, I'll probably go up to that 190, hold for a bit, probably do like a mini cut and then go back into a gaining phase after. Just to try to spend as much time in that calorie surplus, because I know right now, like it's especially this late in the game, like it's gonna take a long time, and if I'm not making everything relatively close to optimal, like I'm probably not going to see much of a change. So yeah. How about you? Like how heavy are you planning to get up to for your off season?
That's a good question. So, the honest answer is I don't know. It's just as heavy as I could possibly get. Last off season, when I was still working with Brian, we peaked up to 71 kilos. So what's that, 150 or something like that? And then my body showed a little bit of resistance. It wouldn't go any further up and actually started coming down. And then we did sort of a mini cut or pulled back a bit. And then it was January. And then it's like, you know what? If you want to compete in Kelowna, that was mid-May, might as well start the slow prep now. So that was a suggestion. And so we went with that. And it turned out great. Yeah, we turned out great. It was a very easy, very slow, gradual deficit. And I wasn't feeling particularly hungry. And it was actually much easier for me. So either that my off season wasn't long enough, or just a little bit resistant to that surplus. And then we had to do a mini cut and then just recomp a little bit and then feed back into it again. That could possibly be one of the reasons, which I would do plan to try within this off season. Now, I think you make a decent point in taking the 2 years off, and do think that in the world of natural bodybuilding, we talked about this many times. It's the time you put into it before you can see a significant difference in between your two stage presentations. So it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. The other thing is, I would like to see the opportunity myself in the short-term goal is to put up past the 71 kilo mark on my off season and maybe perhaps get into the 75 kilos. So 75 kilos, that's about like what, 9, 10 pounds of just overall body weight. We don't know how much muscle we can put on. So in that matter, every pound counts at this point in the off season. There's just no way to tell. So I can
Yeah.
see how you wanted to take 2 years, 3 years, and having that goal locked in, it just brings everything together. Because as an experienced athlete, such as ourselves, we usually have a set date or a set show that we wanted to do, or that year that we wanted to compete, and then work our ways backwards. So that's how we come up with our timeline. And I think it just puts everything in much clearer perspective. There's much more clarity, and we know what we have to do to get there, nutrition wise and training wise. Cardio, I'm not sure if that's something that you still have to do.
I do notice with cardio, just from like a health standpoint, like if I'm getting enough steps in, like I generally feel like better, not as like bogged down and stuff like that. Because I know in previous off seasons, like I like literally wouldn't do any like extra steps. Like I would just do the amount of steps I just naturally get in the day, and like I would be getting like maybe like 3,000, 4,000 steps a day. And I know from just like a health perspective, like being sedentary for that long isn't going to be great. And I'm sure for like nutrition partitioning and stuff like that, it's probably not going to be great. And if your cardiovascular health isn't like great, like when you're training, you're going to feel like you're going to need longer rest periods. So it can just kind of tie into a lot of other aspects of training and like overall health. So I've been really trying to focus on just continue getting around like 7 to like 8K steps per day just to keep that up. I do notice like digestion's a little bit better with getting more steps in, mood's a bit better. It's helping to slow down the rate of gain as well. Because like I'm really trying to like get my rate of gain even kind of smaller than I have in the past, but I'm like I was getting about like zero point 0.5 to like a pound gain after the show per like for the first like 2 months or so, but now I'm trying to get it down to like where I'm gaining 0.25 to zero point 0.5, so like 1 to 2 pounds per month. That's where I'm trying to keep it in. So I have a longer time to continue gaining because I know if I continue gaining like 2 pounds or say 3 pounds per month, I'm gonna reach that 190 real quick, and then all of a sudden I'm gonna have to just hold for a bit because I don't really want to go past 190 because I've been up to like 210 before. I've been up to 200, and I just noticed like then I just have so much time to have to cut back down to a certain weight, and it's just I I don't know, like because anytime you go into a fat loss phase, you're gonna be losing a little bit of muscle mass, like no matter what. So I'm like, okay, if I can just continue gaining up to like 190, holding around there, like that's still only like 20 pounds above stage weight. That way, when I cut down again, like there's less chance of losing as much muscle mass as if I would bulk up to like say like 200 or 210. So, and just from a health standpoint, I find I feel really good. Like 190 is starting to get to like the top end of my natural body fat settling point. So if I push past that, appetite for me just becomes really uncomfortable, kind of like you, where it's like force feeding, like to the point where like food feels like it's coming back up. So like I don't know, for me, and then even when I get past that to like blood pressure markers, like I've had my blood pressure get up to like like yeah, I think it was 135 or 140 over like 90 when I'm up at those levels. So I'm like, okay, like just from a health perspective, I don't think me pushing that high up with my weight is gonna be like just healthy. Um, and I do notice like training when I'm way up there, like those certain like big movements, like my leverages are a bit better. I can lift more weight. I'm having to rest a lot longer in between sets, and I'm just feel like just not the best. I'm sweating like a ton. So like I feel like 190 is a good point to get up to where I feel comfortable. Whereas when I push past that, like everything just starts to kind of go downhill from there.
Yeah, it does beg me to ask the question because this is something that I think for myself and I think some of my other athletes, it also has this problem. Well, not a problem, but during prep, there is a time and space where we do forget or we put aside on some of the imbalances that we potentially have on our bodies because it's something that we cannot fix during prep. We will leave it during the off season before we prep. Um, Now, the thing is, some imbalances will include shifting of the hips, um, imbalance like one side of your shoulders rounded, the other can external rotate. And these are all the imbalance between the left and right. Now, some of my clients have an upper body that shifts to the left, and then the lower body shifts to the right. And then overall, it will affect their off-season bulking because one side is going to be bigger than the other side.
Yeah.
Now, would you say, or how would you recommend uh, athletes will move around during their off season in fixing these problems and also keeping on track on their training intensity?
So yeah, I would say like switching to some like unilateral movements where you're doing like single arm stuff can definitely help. I know with a lot of like the imbalances from side to side, sometimes they're perceived as like larger than they actually are. So you just want to like be like, okay, like is this actually an issue or is this something that like is like the imbalance between side to side? Is it like large enough to actually like visually see from like, especially with like bodybuilding for athletes, it might be a little bit different. Because I know like for me, for example, like my right bicep's always just been smaller than my left bicep, but I think it's also due to um, I don't know if they may have like partially torn my right bicep, but like it just physically looks different than my left. And I think most people have something like that too, where it's an imbalance from the right to left. And I remember seeing somewhere how it could be a neurological thing rather than actually being like just like training like inappropriate, like one side's being more trained in a different plane of motion, or like you're doing something that wrong with that other side. Because a lot of people think, okay, I've got to like twist a little bit more this way or have it more in line, but sometimes it might just be due to neurologically you can't fire quite as hard on that side compared to the other side. And when it comes to those kind of things, like there's not too much you can do. So like for a lot of people, if they have like one side that's bigger than the other, I'll usually just have them do a little bit more single arm movements and just see what the strength's looking like from side to side, and just starting with the weaker side. But yeah, for things like hip shift and rotation and stuff like that, I find like I don't try to focus too much on that when they're performing the actual exercise. I try to do other things if it's like an ab movement or something in isolation from like actually performing the exercise, because I do notice sometimes if somebody has like a hip shift and stuff like that, if we're too hyper focused on that, I do notice that sometimes the weight gets reduced to such a significant degree that they can start to regress. So I find trying to do things specifically for that like corrective, you could say like a corrective exercise, and then with that specific movement, not trying to focus too much on it. Because it's weird because I've in the past I've had a lot of things where it's like hip shifting or one side feels a little bit different than the other, and I would overly focus on it, and it would would always overcorrect. So like I was like, oh, like this arm's slightly too flared. Okay, I'm gonna pull it down, and then over time this got pulled down too much, and then same thing with the other side. Like so, I found personally for me, I had a tendency to overcorrect things. Where it would feel good at first, and then all of a sudden, I'm like checking my phone, like, okay, I'm doing that way too much now, and then yeah, I'd have to. So I try not to focus on it too much, and just try to focus on performing exercises in a way where I can still target those tissues through a great range of motion, but just yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I think that's also the beauty of bodybuilding. There is it's a different type of performance training. Now, I'll give you guys an example just as a barbell squat, something that we do program from time to time in our training. If our hips are shifted to one of the knees caves in and the other is okay, the other hip is externally rotating nicely, but your squat looks weird and over a longer period of extended time, more load adds to the bar and you find yourself there's a bit of a joint pain, either the knee or the hip or the ankle, whatever. Now, that's also something that we could replace. It is a squat movement, a squat centric movement at the end of the day, so we can supplement that with a leg press or a hack squat, something with a machine instead of actually having to get yourself under the bar. So in bodybuilding, we can supplement that. Now, in powerlifting, that is something that we may have to fix. Um, that is the sport at the end of the day. So I think that's also why there's much more room for error, as I think Brian Miner did say in one of his podcasts with us. There's just more room for error in hypertrophy and just building. So all in all, I do think though we can supplement the squat strength with a leg press and still make gains on our lower body without actually having to lose any gains, what would you say from a health perspective on how beneficial the squat movement is? Like getting a bar underneath you and then do squatting, if not even just a goblet squat. Like from a health perspective, how would you prioritize
It
that?
could be just a little bit more practical, yeah, for somebody to be able to perform like a squat with load in terms of just like a balancing act and like everything from that standpoint. So like I still, because I know a lot of people are under the impression that like barbell movements are more functional. There's still a lot of functionality of doing like leg press and all that kind of stuff. You're still building the muscle. You're still going to be stronger going into a squat position after spending months and months in doing a leg press. Though like the doing a barbell squat is going to have a lot of mastery with it. So if you're, say for example, you've never done a barbell back squat and you've only done leg press and you got really strong at leg press, it's still going to take you a while to get used to doing the barbell back squat, and you're probably going to have to start decently light just to get the coordination down. and yeah, being able to that motor unit recruitment down too, because like yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. So if you're just thinking, okay, I'm just gonna load up a bunch of weight and I can do it, like yeah, it's probably not gonna happen, or like something bad's probably gonna happen if you do that. So yeah, like I would say it's important, like if especially for sports like powerlifting, like you have to do the barbell back squat. So you can't just rely on doing the leg press. If barbell back squats do give you a lot of pain, you could essentially lower the frequency or lower the amount of volume you're doing with the barbell back squat, and then push a bit more to like hack squats or leg press, but still making sure that you're doing um, the back squats in the lower rep ranges, so you're getting used to having heavier loads on your back and everything like that, and still getting some mastery. Um, so I think that's important. But yeah, in terms of like injuries, like especially if you have to do the back squat, like understanding like what's the issue, like is it something to do with your ankle mobility, is it something to do with like hip, is it something to do with like maybe your upper body not sitting correctly, like there's so many different factors that could come into play there for sure.
When's the last time you used back squat?
Dude, it's it's been a long time to be honest. I was never a good squatter, like I think it's just the way I'm like built, like my ankle mobility was always bad. Like I did get squat shoes and stuff like that, and but yeah, I would always have to fold over quite a bit just to keep that bar within midfoot. So my glutes and lower back were taking a bit more than my actual quad. So I never found I grew my quads too well with it. Like I did do front squats for a little bit there. I think it was pretty much back in 2020 was like the last time where I was like actually having it in my program like all the time, like front squats or back squats. Um, but I found when I switched to like hack squats and leg press, especially with manipulating the machine a little bit to make it really quad biased, like I just found a lot more comfortable. I could do a lot more volume with it without as much like back issues or knee issues and stuff like that.
Have you thought about low bar squat?
Lower, I it messes my shoulder up a lot, and I have this hump on my spine from doing back squats for so long. I remember going to the doctor about it, and they just said it could be just the skin, like a callus, like a big callus on like my spine there. But it's weird because like we're if I do high bar back squats, like they generally tend to feel a little bit better than like low bar on like my shoulders,
Yeah.
but it lands right on like that big hump on my spine. So all I feel is like force going right into my spine if I
No.
use just the barbell.
Yeah.
Even if I try to get my traps in place where it's like resting on my traps, it still pushes like directly into that position.
Mhm.
And then low bar, it feels better on the spine,
Yeah.
like because it's not directly on that point, but my shoulders just get real messed up from it.
Yeah. Same. But yeah, so being Asian, I couldn't even do a high bar squat properly. I just the dorsiflexion isn't there. And I know it feels weird. Like I know Maggie tells me like, no, your high bar looks fine. But then I
Yeah.
also feel like when I actually do it, I tend to have the tendency to lean forward even just a little bit more. I find more success in just the comfort of the squat movement at low bar. Now, I had the same problem. I can't really hold the bar nicely, like nice and tight. I have to hold it a little bit wider. Just my shoulders wouldn't allow it.
Yeah.
And but I just kind of played around with it, and I didn't really put it in my program. I'd still stick with the leg press during this off season. I think I would try different types of just hack squat machines. So like the pendulum squat, the hack squat, the leg press. I think I'll just incorporate these leg exercises as my main compound squat centrics. And then RDL, I think we're okay with single leg RDL, and I'm actually putting a little bit more lunging into my off season program. Now, during our off season, we have a little bit more fluids in our body. We have a lot more body fat, and joints just don't feel as achy compared to us in deep prep. Now, I think just the unilateral movement, as we just talked about, as you just did mention, it will help with the imbalance between the left and right side. And for myself, I do find my right side is really messed up. It's very unstable. So I say I can do a very slow step up with my left, but I can't do it with my right. I tend to drop. I need a little bit more of a boost jump in order to get it. Now all the strength is in the right, so I can kick really hard with it, and then I just have like zero stability on it, in the ankle, the bottom of the foot, anywhere. So I think during the off season and how we program ourselves is working on the weaknesses that we previously had. At the same time, we progress overload and put on as much mass as we possibly can. So as yourself, if you guys have looked at Brandon's story, he does his chest and delts on, is it chest and delts or and triceps, or what else do you put in there?
So yeah, I was doing which day was that? Here, I can pull up my program on my phone. Yeah, I've been doing it a little bit different. To it's most days are kind of like you could call full body, but it's only really like three body parts usually getting targeted.
Yeah. Are you using Excel or are you using
To be honest, I've been just using notes for it. It's just because I'm like I was using what was it, Trainer Heroic before, but I just got lazy and I just started putting it on my notes. But yeah, because I'm doing like day one right now is like back, hamstrings, and calves. And then day two is like quad, delts, arms. Day three is chest, glutes, calves. So pretty much all the body parts I'm really trying to focus, I put at the beginning of the workout.
Mhm.
And then the ones that are like decent for me, even though technically calves I should probably have at the beginning of the workout, but I'm just like, I don't want to do it. But I'm still doing it like 3 times a week. But yeah, then I'll do like quads, delts, arms, then chest, glutes, calves, and then the rest day. And then I do like even though it's been kind of out of order lately, but back, quads, hamstrings, and then chest, shoulders, arms. So that's, yeah,
Yeah.
kind of what I'm doing right now.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I've done my program and focusing a lot more on, I'm putting a lot more volume on my arms. So I'm basically doing a little bit of arms on every upper body session, which is three, 4 times a week, and then legs for 2 days. I know I should do
Yeah.
more. Yeah, I know I should do more. And then, but just doing these unilateral legs, they take so long to recover for me. But I can see why that we had this conversation earlier, I think it was like 2, 3 episodes ago, on programming for yourself and how it's the challenges that we face. Now, during this off season when things are just getting slower and we have a lot more flexibility in our time, effort, and food, I can see why that you wanted to just get somebody to program for you, and then you can follow it blindly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the tendency of having programmed to yourself, you tend to make adjustments because you made it and there's just no accountability there. Who would you turn to if you just wanted to get an off-season program? Any recommendations for our listeners besides
Us.
yourself? Besides yourself, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like because like for that one, like I technically created it myself, but I sent it to Anthony just to be like, oh, okay, like what are your thoughts on this? Because we had a little call and like I was just chatting. I'm like, hey, like I find every time I program for myself, I
You
keep like
called him?
swapping. Well, yeah, we had a little call.
Ew.
And I was just like picking his brain, and I was like, because, and then she's like, yeah, just make your program, send it over, and like I can modify some things if need be. And it pretty much stayed the same. I think we swapped out a couple exercises just for either cable, even though I kept a couple of dumbbell ones in. Just he seems to be a bit more like cable and machine oriented. He doesn't like barbell stuff too much. Um,
There's no
but
need for it, honestly.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I remember actually listening to a podcast with Chasm about chest pressing. I can't remember exactly what he stated, but he was saying that like dumbbell pressing might actually be a little bit better than like say a typical machine press,
Yeah.
just due to I think shoulders and like triceps getting a little bit more involved with like the machine press. I was. Do you know what's actually the reason behind that? I can't remember what he said.
Yeah. Yeah. So the research was done by I think it was Brad Schoenfield and a whole bunch of other people. I think Meta was also in it as well. So this I think was back, oh, holy shoot, I think 2018 or something like that. It was a long time ago. So they were doing barbell, dumbbell, and machine on the chest development and delt and tricep development. Saw a significant size increase in I think the most was dumbbell on the chest and triceps and the delts. So the maximum was dumbbell, and then I forgot. I think it was machine was the second, but then Only on they seem to see a lot more growth on the triceps for the machines compared to the barbell. I think that was the case. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So they compared the three, and then yeah, dumbbell did the best, and machine they were just kind of locked in the just not really like not like pec decks or those machines that give you like really good range of motion. The very standard ones that I think is I don't know. They didn't mention the brand of it, but
Yeah, okay.
that was yeah.
I wonder if the resistance profile was in the shortened position with the machine,
I think it
or
was just
if it
full
was,
range. Yeah, I think it was just
or
full
if it was
range.
pretty consistent through
Yeah,
the whole
I
machine.
think that
Okay.
was it. Yeah, because I remember reading. They're listening about it, not reading it. Though I was listening about it, and then um, I was a little bit lazy, so I just fast forwarded until like pretty much the end of it, and then just yeah, just tell me what the results is, and
Yeah.
then so dumbbell was the had the best outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
for
wonder if
chest
that
or
is
yeah,
because like the dumbbell's gonna be very lengthened biased, and like it's
yeah,
gonna be easy at the top and hard at the bottom. If that was the main thing that triggered that, or if there was, or I think Coach Chasm talked about like something to do with the stability component was actually beneficial to the pecs, as like the shoulders and like the triceps couldn't be as active. Just to, I don't know. There's something that he stated in one of the recent podcasts I listened
right.
to with him, but I would have to review back and see exactly what it was.
The problem when I'm talking about is like the dumbbell showed the most hypertrophy was I think it was very dated. And
Okay.
I think yeah, it was like 2018, and I'm pretty sure there's a couple more researchers that came out within the recent years, and I'm pretty sure that after these new research came out with like lengthened quote unquote lengthened partials that showed much more hypertrophy, it probably does explain why that dumbbells have a much higher muscle growth compared to let's say machine.
Yeah.
So in some machines, I think some machines do pretty well, and I think. Now, when I use chest press machines, I have this foam that I bring with me, and I just slip it on my back, and so I sit a little bit more forward, so the default bar just comes down lower onto my chest. Now it's a
Gotcha.
little bit uncomfortable for the front delts, but it does the trick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, makes sense, man. Yeah, because like the dumbbell, like it would be more lengthened and biased in terms of the resistance profile too, right?
yeah,
Because like it's going to be hardest at the bottom and
strongest.
easy at the top. And then I know a lot of machines, especially if they're plate loaded, can be hardest at the top and easiest at the bottom. So you almost have to go into partials to get the most out of it. But I know like the plate loaded ones, depending on because there are some plate loaded machines where you can add to like the lengthen position or to the shorten position, and you can adjust for that, making it kind of like the dumbbell in terms of the resistance profile. I know like some will have like the cams on like the machines. I know what is that brand? Strive, I think, has like it where you can make it heaviest in the lengthened position and easiest in the shortened position. So you can do things like that to manipulate the resistance profile. Um, but I wonder,
You
I'd be
have that?
curious to see
You
the
have that
difference.
machine at with the gym that you go to?
No, that was at Global. Like they had a chest press machine there where you could do that. I
Oh,
know
nice.
certain ones will have what is Prime? I think Prime has the ones where you can adjust to have the cam or have like a plate loaded where it's either heaviest at the bottom or
Yeah.
heaviest at the top or in the middle.
Oh, no, I don't have the privilege in playing with the Prime one here down at the West. Now, in Calgary, there's a new gym that was newly built called The Realm. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, they actually just changed the one in Kelowna, like the Iron Nation, to the Ram as well.
The old wait, the Iron Nation in
Iron,
Kelowna?
it's not the one that Brian owns. It's a
Yeah,
different
yeah,
one.
yeah,
Like
Iron
yeah,
Nation. Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, they
They
changed
have
it
one
to the
here too
Ram.
in another city here in Vancouver. It's crazy
Oh,
expensive.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So the in Kelowna, the old Iron Nation, did they just leave or did they just change a place?
They just changed the place
Oh, okay.
to yeah. So
Okay,
they
so
got the
they're
same
called The Realm.
machines and everything. Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay. So if now the Realm is one of the gyms I've seen online that is a very exciting gym. They have machines from Panada.
Yeah.
So that's another. I've got a chance to play with some Panadas in another gym that's local here in Vancouver. It's called Vitality. If you guys want to see, check them out. They're not cheap for their memberships, but they provide a shit ton of Tanada machines within their premise, and they're quite a lot of fun. But the Realm is one of the gyms that I would wish to see. Are you going to be at Calgary?
For the Calgary show.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'll be out there.
Okay. Where are you staying?
We'll probably end up just staying in one of the hotels by the venue. I think probably like the one
Weston?
we stayed in last time, where it was like just across the street.
Not Weston, right?
What was it?
Weston was the venue, is the venue
Yeah,
hotel. Yeah.
yeah. So I'll probably stay in the one that's just across the street. I can't remember the exact name of it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I stayed the one, yeah, right across from it's in the same sort of block, and there's two more hotels just right beside the Westin. I think one of them's called the Hotel of Cliche or something like that, and then there's the other one I think it's called the Hyatt. Yeah,
I
so
think
Anthony
maybe
stayed
that
in the
was
one
the
in
one.
Hyatt, yeah.
Yeah,
It's all
yeah,
within just like 5 minutes or 10 minutes walking distance. It's really, really close.
yeah.
Now, I haven't booked my anyways, but I will be at Calgary too. But I do hope to go and visit the Realm and go to Leo's gym, and perhaps let's if I don't know how long you're staying there, uh, but I do hope to go there and get a lift in and just film some stuff.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, like I'll be probably leaving there on the Friday, and then we'll probably head out on the Sunday. So like Friday, I'll probably be able to get a lift in like Friday evening or something like that.
Right after check-in,
Saturday. Oh, oh yeah, that's
they
true.
have
Maybe
athletes meeting and all that
yeah, yeah.
bullshit.
Maybe
So
during
Friday
the day.
daytime probably, right?
Yeah, probably daytime. That's true.
Who's going for you at Calgary?
Oh, Bradley. Yeah, he's doing that show as well.
Travis ain't going?
No, man, he's done. He was after because he did the
Alberta.
TNT show
Yeah.
for like the CPA after, and then he's like, yeah, like I'm good with this. Um, and yeah, we were starting to get to points in prep because like he was having some like back stuff happening, some foot stuff. I'm like, yeah, his body's starting to not hold on too well. So yeah, it's probably a good time to color. And then he's like going to potentially competing next year, or maybe the year after. Like we'll see. He does seem to want to compete sooner than later.
Hmm.
Um, we'll see. I still think probably if we can wait 2 years, it'll probably be prime spot because we can have add a little bit of tissue, kind of set them up nicely for that cut. Whereas if we do it next year, it's just yeah. I guess there's just over a year in between his last show and that show next year, but it's a lot of that's just recovery. Like probably take
Yeah.
3 4 months to fully recover and then actually start getting to productive work. So yeah.
Okay. So you only have Bradley? Who? Anybody else?
Yeah, Bradley so far, I'm sure I'll likely pick up somebody before then. Like I don't know, we'll see. I have a couple guys that I have a couple calls and stuff for individuals competing later in the year, so we'll see. It's always tough when they reach out though last minute because then it's like I got to see where you're at, see
Yeah.
what you're currently doing, see if it's going to be feasible.
Yeah.
But I have a couple guys, yeah, going to be competing next year too, so it should be good then.
That's fun. Yeah. Same. I'll be there. I have one bikini, so I'll probably be there for her. She did the Winnipeg, and so yeah, we'll see how she does this year. And same. Um, I was hoping to have a call by the end of this week to see if they want to do Calgary. And yeah, we'll see about that. But then at the same time, I have another client who needs to do a powerlifting meet, I think next weekend. So I'll
Nice.
I'll be out at Kamloops in the next
Yeah.
week. Yeah. So yeah, fun summer. Very productive, I would say. This summer, I felt like this year we've done quite a lot. I think it's a good half year, and then I just finished like really, really strong for the next half of the year. I can't wait for Calgary. I think I might start. I think I might even go there. I'm still thinking because I don't want to fly. I don't want to drive there. So if it's a 12-hour drive, I'm thinking what time or which day I should start driving there. If we want to lift on Friday daytime, then I'd probably just start driving Thursday here, and then just get there Thursday night. So I'll be staying there in 4 nights or 3 nights.
Well, like, yeah, I'll see. Like, yeah, if you're getting there Thursday night, then I might as well just come like Friday morning or
It's only a
whatever, and then
3 hour drive for you, no?
yeah, it's not bad at all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
yeah, I wanted to drive there. So yeah, we'll see.
yeah. Makes
Okay.
sense.
Any last words for our listeners for their off season and things they should pay attention to?
I would say off season main thing is just give yourself a good runway. Try to avoid gaining too quickly because like you can if you kind of just eat whatever and just kind of going ham with the food, turning into a dirty bulk, like you can gain weight real quick, and a lot of that's going to come from fat mass. You just want to make sure, for most people, anywhere between 1 to 3 pounds per month. 3 pounds being more so if you're a bit more new to working out, like you got a lot of potential for growth. That's probably a good rate to gain per month. If you're somebody that's been at it for 5, 10 years, it's probably gonna be closer to that 1 to 2 pound gain per month. So yeah, just make sure you give yourself enough time and spend, if you're in the off season, most of your time focusing on gaining rather than trying to stay shredded. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that. And the more you do it, as it's just like training, the more you do it, the more easier it's going to get.
yeah,
And as I think we just talked about this on our last episode with Eric, I think biofeedback is something that is very, very important. Now, if you're new to this, then having somebody to guide you through the entire process is more beneficial. It's just listening to your body may not be that accurate in, let's say, hunger levels and things like that. But the more we do it, and the more prep you go through, you'll start to understand your body more, you know, what feels full and what doesn't feel full, and what is
yeah.
cravings and what is not.
One thing for the fullness, like I feel like people that are newer to like nutrition and hunger cueing is like they think full has to be just uncomfortably like stuffed full,
Yeah.
and then hunger is just on the extreme end of the spectrum. So like being able to get those closer and being okay with like having a meal and feeling like okay, I could eat more, but like I feel good with the amount of food I ate rather than like eating to the point where like man I'm gonna like throw up. So
Yeah.
like there's a spectrum of like what we mean by saying full. So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, keep that in mind. And if you need help with any sort of like reverse diet or recovery diets, feel free to reach out to us. We have a awesome plan for our recovery diet, and if you're also going into any of the WMBF remaining shows for the end of this year, there's coming, I think in 3 weeks, there's the Ontario show,
Yeah.
and then there's a new show called the East Coast Show down at Newfoundland, and is that where it is?
Yeah,
Newfoundland.
I think that's gonna be happening next year, right?
Is it this year or
I'd be
next year? Yeah. We'll
I
look at that again.
yeah.
Yeah, but that's going to be a new show at the end of August. I think it was the 28th or 29th or something like that. And then the Saskatchewan show is going to be coming up. And then I think it's somewhere in September. And then to finish off the season, it will be the Calgary Pro-Am show. And then finally, it's going to be World, which is going to be in LA this year. So if you have now, LA in Worlds is also going to be a pro-am show. So if you want to get your pro card within this year and you've got these opportunities left if you're in Canada, yeah, so feel free to reach out to us. We'll leave all our DMs are here, all available to you guys. Okay, so that's it. Yeah. Anything else you
Yep.
want to say?
No, that's good then.
Okay. All right. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you guys next time.